Hello besties, my name is Mina. Welcome to my channel Mina Reads, and today we're going to be talking about my mildly ambitious August TBR. So you guys will know I'm not usually much of a TBR girly, so I think that any TBR is ambitious for me, but on this particular TBR we've got 11 books and we're just going to go through them really quickly and what they are, why I'm interested in reading them, and you know, my thought process going into this reading month, and hopefully it's going to be a good one. Okay, so first up we've got It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, which is like, I really don't know how I'm gonna feel about this book, and I'm going in kind of with no real expectations for it. I know that it is a very well-loved book, especially on TikTok, but I'm not familiar with Colleen Hoover's work beyond other people really loving it, so I'm hoping that I'm gonna like it, but I feel like the conversation about it on TikTok has been a bit confusing because I don't know if this is like general hard-hitting like contemporary fiction or if this is a romance, so I'm not entirely sure what I'm getting into going into this book, but I am going to be trying it, and I do know that it does handle some triggering topics, I believe, like domestic abuse, so I understand that it's going to be maybe a hard read, but I want to know if it's like general fiction, women's fiction, or if it's a romance. Somebody let me know in the comments below, pretty please. So yeah, I'm finally going to be checking this out. I got this from my thrift store a few months ago and I'm going to try to read it. Then we've got This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal Al-Mokhtar and Max Gladstone, and this book has been on my TBR for, it has to be like 3, maybe 4 years at this point. It's been a very long time coming, and this was purchased for me about 3 years ago by one of my like bookstagram friends, Scarlett, a million years ago. It was her favorite book and I was supposed to read it and I didn't get around to it, and it's also my bestie Mariam's favorite book, but Mariam is challenging me to do this like reading sprint live stream with her next week where I'm going to be attempting to read the whole book like during the reading sprints live stream or whatever. So it's like a 200-page book, maybe a little less. Yeah, it's like 198 pages. So this is a sci-fi story that is kind of romantic in nature, and it's about these two rivaling like time travel agents who are trying to create the perfect timeline for their respective agencies. So they are rivals, but they end up like writing these letters to each other, and it's an epistolary novel, which I always tend to love. So I'm hoping that I'm really gonna like this, but I have made a few hesitant attempts at reading it before and I just could not figure out what the fuck was happening. So I'm hoping that if I just sit down and consume this with my friend with me, like maybe it'll all start falling into place, it'll all start making sense, and I'll love it. So we'll see. So then we've got On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. This is a book that I did read some of last summer. I remember I was in the middle of it and I was really enjoying it, but for whatever reason I just didn't continue it. I think that I was reading it like right before I went on vacation, and I think by the time I had got back from vacation my reading mood had just shifted so much that I didn't end up picking this back up. But this is like, oh, there's a bookmark in it. But it's about this character named Little Dog, and this is a story where he is talking about his relationship with his mother and how much he loves her but how toxic their relationship has been. And I remember thinking that this book was really gorgeous when I was reading it, but of course I didn't finish it. So I am going to be reading it from the beginning and hopefully I'm going to love it and I'll actually finish it this time. And yeah, I've got high hopes. So then we got Freshwater by Akweke Emezi. This was gifted to me by Steph from Stephanie Bookish, so I will leave a link to her channel in the description below. But this is going to be my fourth book by Akweke Emezi, and so yeah, since I own this one, I want to read it. I've kind of been making my way through Emezi's backlist, and I recently read their most recent release, which is You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty. So yeah, this is up next on my like tackling their backlist list. I don't know, whatever. I'm just saying words and things, but I want to read this book, so I think I'm gonna read it. And I'm trying to get a little bit into my literary fiction era, so yeah, that's also motivating this read. So I know that this is a story about a character named Ada who is hearing voices or maybe alternate selves, and this is kind of a story where the alternate selves become stronger and like a stronger and stronger presence to the point that Ada kind of fades into the background. And that sounds really interesting. I don't think I've ever read a story quite like that where a character is experiencing like a personality disorder, so I am incredibly intrigued to read this one, and I've been having like an interesting time reading Ikweike Emezi's books, so I think that this will also be a cool experience. Then we've got Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel, and I am already, I want to say I'm like 30% through, but I don't know. I'm like 75 pages into the book, and it's a pretty short one, but this is a story, I was going to say it's a time travel story, which it kind of is, but it also kind of isn't. So this is like a literary sci-fi. We're following multiple different timelines, and these timelines all converge because there is some kind of like strange anomaly that occurs in these various points in the past and in the future, and there is this person that's like investigating them, but from what I know so far, we have multiple POVs. We've got this character named Edwin, who's kind of this shiftless wanderer trying to figure out what he's going to do with his life. We have a character named, I want to say that her name is Morella, and Morella had this best friend named Vincent, who she is kind of investigating the mysterious death of, because her and Vincent were really close and then they became estranged, and once she went looking for Vincent again, Vincent is dead, so looking for her. And then there's like another POV of this author from the future. The author's from like 2022. That's not true. They're from like 2203 or something like that, some date far in the future, and they are this like really prestigious author, and this is about them like on a book tour. So all of these very different narratives being told, but they are all interconnected through this like space-time anomaly thing, and so far it's really interesting. So I'm hoping to finish it in August, because it's like the last day of July right now, so I'm definitely not going to finish it in time, but I will hopefully finish it in August. Then we've got Mistborn by the Brandy Sandy. I feel like it's time. Like, it's just time for me to read another fantasy and for me to dive into a new like big fantasy series. And so I think that it makes the most sense for me to go with Brandon Sanderson, especially because I really pushed back against reading Brandon Sanderson. I really did. I was like, oh, I'm never gonna do it. I'm not gonna go with the crowd. But the peer pressure has gotten to me, and everybody loves Brandon Sanderson so much that I just have to know what the hype is all about. And if you watched my haul from like a few months ago, I did end up purchasing the box set of the entire Mistborn trilogy, so I feel like it's just time to dive in. So that's what I'm hoping to do in August. So yeah, gonna try to get into the Mistborn series, see if Brandon Sanderson is for me or not, and hopefully it'll be a good time. Hopefully I'll vlog it. I don't know. I'm not making any promises about that, but I feel like if I do end up getting to this book, I will hopefully vlog it for you guys. Then we've got The Wolfden by Elodie Harper. So this is set in Pompeii, and it is about this woman who goes to work in a brothel, and so this brothel is called The Wolfden, and it's just about her and her fellow workers and like their experiences in this wolf den. So I have heard from so many people that this book is just absolutely incredible. It has an incredibly high star rating on Goodreads as well, and I have been wanting to get into historical fiction, but I feel like so much historical fiction, like in my mind, all historical fiction is about like World War II. Like, that's the only thing that I think of when somebody says that they like historical fiction. So for me, finding this book that is like a very hyped historical fiction and is set during literally any other time period than World War II, it excites me. Then we have, I feel like you kind of can't see it. Maybe you can. I don't know. The cover is just so pale. But anyway, this is Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake, and I have read 2 Olivia Blake books now. I read Masters of Death, which I absolutely adored, 5 stars, and I read The Atlas 6, which I really did enjoy, and I gave that one 4 stars. So I feel like I'm on a roll with her as an author, and so I'm hoping that this will be another hit for me. And Alone with You in the Ether, while Atlas 6 and Masters of Death are both fantasies, I believe that this one is not a fantasy. I think it's supposed to be like a contemporary, and so I know that this is a story. I was gonna say it's a love story, but I don't know, because people say it's really sad and like you shouldn't go into it expecting it to be a romance in a traditional sense. But I believe it's a story about two characters in a relationship, and I guess like the ramifications of that relationship. Maybe their relationship is toxic, I don't know, but it just sounds like a very interesting book. I love Olivia Blake's writing. I think she's very pretentious and very fun, so I'd be interested to read this, because I think that Masters of Death, the last thing I read by her, is very silly and like satirical, so it'd be interesting to read this book in contrast to that, which I believe this one will be a lot more serious in tone, so gonna check this one out. Then we've got 10,000 Stitches by Olivia Atwater, and this is the second book in the Regency Fairy Tales series, and so this is a historical fantasy romance series set during like the Regency period. And the first book, Half a Soul, is about a character who has an encounter with the Fae, and it basically strips her of a part of her soul that has like really large emotions, so she kind of appears a bit emotionless. It has caused her to struggle in society, but she ends up meeting this guy who is like the court magician, and they hit it off. It's a fantasy romance between them, and it also deals with a lot of other themes. And one of the very interesting themes in Half a Soul is like class differences and class consciousness. And so this book, I feel like, really follows up on that theme, because this one is about a character named Effie, and Effie is a maid in a noble household, and she is essentially in love with this guy who is the son of a noble. So they're from very different social classes, so she thinks that it's basically impossible for them to be together. So Effie, she acquires this fairy godfather who is not too great at his job, from what the synopsis says, and his name is Lord Blackthorn. So this is about his attempts to help Effie and her gentleman lover or potential lover be successful in having a romance together. And I think it'll be really interesting because, like I said, I think that most Regency romances that I have ever read, they really don't touch on class issues all that much. So I think it'll be interesting, for me at least, to read a story that is about, you know, like your average working class girl and the nobility and the aristocracy or whatever, and seeing how that's all going to work out. I think it'll be fun. So yeah, I really enjoyed the first book in the series. Hopefully I'm going to enjoy this one. We'll see. Then I've got Upgrade by Blake Crouch. This book is a science fiction like thriller, and it is essentially about this character who unknowingly gets this human genome upgrade that kind of makes him an advanced form of human. And I don't know too much more about it because I want to kind of go into it and be very surprised. But the last Blake Crouch that I read was Dark Matter, and I think that Dark Matter is one of my favorite books of all time. I don't really talk about it all that much because I read it before I really started making booktube videos, but I loved it so much, and so I don't know why I've been putting off reading any other Blake Crouch, because he definitely has had a release since my booktube career, but I haven't read any more from him since Dark Matter. But that's all changing this month. And the last book on my TBR is going to be Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and you will have seen this on many TBRs in the past, but it's here again. Guess who's back and better than ever? Miss TJR. So I really have to say that I personally enjoy the Taylor Jenkins Reid cinematic universe, and so I need to hurry up and read this so that I can read the most recent installment, which is going to be Carrie Soto is Back, I believe that's what it's called. And so I need to like read it and be caught up so that when I read Carrie's book, it all makes sense, because all the stories are interconnected. I don't think that they're so interconnected that like you have to read one before reading the other, but I do want to read this one first so that I have all the tea, you know, when I finally get around to reading Carrie's book. So yeah, that's why it's on the docket. This is a story about some characters who are the children of Mick Riva, and Mick Riva in the TJR universe is like this really popular, incredibly famous rock star. And so this is a story full of lots of family drama as they host their annual like family beach party, and some stuff and some things happen. So I'm finally gonna get around to reading it. It's all happening. It's all happening. So this is my rather ambitious TBR for the month. Hopefully I will be very successful, but who knows. I'm gonna try to do some vlogging this month, so like Maybe there'll be some videos, maybe there won't be, who knows. I'm in a very weird place with content making, and I feel like I've been having a lot of sort of very unfounded anxiety about making videos recently. So I'm hoping to get out of that in the month of August, and I'm hoping to make lots and lots of fun videos for you guys and read, hopefully, tons and tons of good books. So also, since I haven't been posting consistently for a really long time, I'm sure the YouTube algorithm absolutely hates me. So if you have by some sheer miracle actually seen this video, do be sure that you are subscribed and that you do hit the post notifications so that you can catch any of my videos that are coming up, because I know that YouTube will definitely punish me for taking a month-long break. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I'll see you all in my next one. Bye you guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and a special thank you to all of my wonderful patrons.